On Tuesday, September 17, 2024, at exactly 11:47 in the morning, a woman I had never met before told me 0:099 seconds marry me if I could fix her Porsche. She was joking. What do you think? 3 of her assistants laughed on cue. 0:1616 seconds. I opened the hood of the 1973 Carrera RS sitting in her 6-car garage, looked at the engine bay for approximately 0:2323 seconds, and stopped breathing. I knew this car. I had worked on it at the Nürburgring in the summer of 2010 when 0:3232 seconds. I was 24 years old, when my wife Caroline was still alive, when our daughter hadn't been born yet, and when the man who personally rebuilt this 0:40 seconds engine was still teaching me how to listen to metal the way other people listen to music. The woman who owned the car had no idea what she had just walked 0:48 seconds into. She thought she was making a joke about a mechanic in a grease-stained work shirt who had pulled up to her. 0:54 seconds. Greenwich Estate in a 2014 Ford F-150 with a Stamford zip code on the plates. 1:011 1 second. What she didn't know was that the answer to her car's problem was sitting in a leather-bound notebook in the locked drawer of my garage workbench, written in 1:091 9 seconds. Me own handwriting 14 years and 2 months ago in a country she had probably visited but didn't speak the language of. By the time we figured out what was 181 18 seconds really wrong with that Porsche, the woman laughing at me in her garden that morning would lose almost everything she owned, and I would be the only person. 1:271 27 seconds standing between her and the man who was taking it. My name is Ethan Whitaker. 1:331 33 seconds. I'm 38 years old. I live with my 7-year-old daughter, Hannah, in a 2-bedroom apartment above the garage I own on Pacific Street in Stamford. 1:411 41 seconds. Connecticut. The garage is called Whitaker Auto Specialists. I have 2 bays, 1 lift, 2 tool chests. I've 1:481 48 seconds been adding to since 2009, and a reputation in a narrow corner of the European automotive community for being able to find problems that other people can't. I get my work through referrals. 2:002 the day this story starts, I had 3 cars in the shop. A 2018 Audi RS5 with a 2:062 6 seconds transmission cooler issue, a 2007 BMW M5 with valve seal degradation, and a 1995 2:142 14 seconds Mercedes 500e that belonged to a doctor in New Canaan who had been bringing it to me for 6 years and would not let anyone 2:202 20 seconds else touch it. The call came at 9:18 in the morning. The number was unfamiliar, a 203 Greenwich Exchange. I answered on 292 29 seconds the second ring because I was already at the bench working on the M5 and my hands were clean enough. The voice on the other end belonged to a woman named Elna. 2:372 37 seconds Marsh. She identified herself as the executive assistant to Vivian Ashworth of Ashworth Capital Management. She said Miss Ashworth had been referred to me by 2:462 46 seconds Dr. Richard Caldwell, the Mercedes owner from New Canaan, regarding a 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS that had been presenting 2:552 55 seconds. An intermittent diagnostic challenge for the better part of 18 months. 3 dealerships and 2 specialty shops had 3:023 2 seconds failed to resolve it. I asked her what specifically the car was doing. She read from a list. Persistent misfire at idle. 3:113 11 seconds particularly when cold. Pressure loss in the dry sump system after extended driving. Diagnostic codes that didn't correlate with any visible mechanical. 3:193 minutes, 19 seconds fault. Two of the shops had performed engine pull downs, found nothing structurally wrong, reassembled, and the issue had returned within 100 miles. 3:283 minutes, 28 seconds each time. That last part is what made me agree to come. A 1973 Carrera RS that. 363 minutes, 36 seconds runs fine for 90 and then misfires isn't a problem with the part. It's a problem with the relationship between. 3:433 minutes, 43 seconds 2 parts. And finding that kind of problem requires either luck or someone who has actually been inside the engine before. I asked Elena when Miss Ashworth. 3:523 minutes, 52 seconds was available. She said today, 11:30, I told her I'd be there. I hung up, called Mrs. Sullivan downstairs to confirm. 4:004 Minutest pick Hannah up from Stanford Academy at 3 o'clock, washed up, changed into a clean work shirt with my shop logo on. 4:084 minutes, 8 seconds sit, and put together a roll bag of diagnostic tools I knew I'd need for an air-cooled flat 6.9 from that era. Bye. 4:154 minutes, 15 seconds 11:30, I was driving north on Interstate 95. The Ashworth estate sat at the end of a private road off North Street in the backcountry section of Greenwich. 4:254 minutes, 25 seconds the gate was iron, the driveway was blue stone, and the house at the end of it was the kind of colonial that had probably been featured in architectural. 4:334 minutes, 33 seconds digest at some point in the last 20 years. White clapboard, slate roof, 6 chimneys, the kind of house that does. 4:414 minutes, 41 seconds not announce itself with anything loud because it doesn't need to. A young man at the gatehouse checked my name against a list, opened the gate without. 4:504 minutes, 50 seconds speaking, and pointed me toward the south side of the property. I followed the curve of the driveway past the main house, past a pool that was longer than. 4:594 minutes, 59 seconds me entire shop and pulled up in front of a detached 6-bay garage that was itself larger than my apartment. A woman. 5:075 minutes, 7 seconds was standing on the lawn between the pool and the garage with 2 other women and a man. She was in a navy blazer, dark jeans, and the kind of loafers that cost more than a transmission rebuild. 5:185 minutes, 18 seconds she had dark hair pulled back, a phone in her left hand, and the particular posture of a person who had been talking to people who were paid to listen to her. 5:265 minutes, 26 seconds since she was 22. Vivian Ashworth. I recognized her from the brief search I'd done on my phone before leaving. 5:345 minutes, 34 seconds Stamford. 38 years old, senior partner at Ashworth Capital Management, a hedge fund she had co-founded with her late. 5:425 minutes, 42 seconds father's longtime business associate in 2014. 5:465 minutes, 46 seconds fund managed roughly $4.2 billion in assets as of the most recent regulatory filing. She had inherited a substantial 5:545 minutes, 54 second seed position from her father, Charles Ashworth, who had died of pancreatic cancer in November 2019. But the funds. 6:026 minutes, 2 seconds reputation in the years since had been built on her own decisions. She watched me get out of the truck without expression. The man beside her, older. 6:116 minutes, 11 seconds heavier, in a gray cashmere sweater, watched me with something closer to amusement. I walked over. I gave her my 6:196 minutes, 19 seconds hand. She shook it briefly. You're the mechanic. Ethan Whitaker from Stamford. 6:256 minutes, 25 seconds Vivian, this is Preston Vance, my partner at the fund. Elena, who you spoke with, and Sarah, my second assistant. I nodded at each of them. 6:3:56 minutes, 35 seconds. Preston gave me a smile that did not reach his eyes. He was probably 47, expensively groomed, with the kind of tan that comes from places people don't. 6:4:46 minutes, 44 seconds usually go in September. Vivian gestured at the garage. The Porsche is the second bay from the right, the white one with 6:5:26 minutes, 52 seconds. The red script. I have a meeting at 1:30 in Manhattan, so if you need anything from me directly, we have about an hour. 6:5:96 minutes, 59 seconds. I just need to see it. Then, please. She started toward the garage. The others followed. I followed them. The garage. 7:0:87 minutes, 8 seconds. Doors were already open. Inside, 5 cars were parked. A black 2023 Range Rover, a silver Mercedes G63. 187 minutes, 18 seconds. A red Ferrari that looked like a late model 488, a dark blue Bentley Continental, and in the second bay from the right, exactly. 7:2:77 minutes, 27 seconds. Where she had said, a Grand Prix white 1973, Porsche 911, Carrera RS 2.7 with 7:3:57 minutes, 35 seconds. The red Carrera script along the lower rocker panels, and the distinctive ducktail spoiler that made these cars instantly identifiable to anyone who 7:4:37 minutes, 43 seconds knew what they were looking at. I stopped at the front of the car for a moment. Not for the obvious reasons. 7:5:07 minutes, 50 seconds. Stopped because the proportions of this specific car were doing something to my memory that I hadn't asked for and couldn't immediately place. 3 shops. 7:5:87 minutes, 58 seconds. Looked at this, Preston Vance said behind me, including the Porsche dealer in White Plains. So, if you're seeing something they didn't, I'd love to know. 8:0:88 minutes, 8 seconds. I didn't respond. I walked around to the rear of the car and put my hand on the engine cover. You can pop it. It's 8:168 minutes, 16 seconds. Unlocked, Vivian said. I lifted the engine cover. The first thing I saw was the air filter housing, original to the 8:2:48 minutes, 24 seconds period, slightly oxidized at the edges in a way that confirmed this car had been driven, not just stored. The second 8:328 minutes, 32 seconds thing I saw was the fan shroud, also original, with the correct factory paint code visible along the underside. The 8:398 minutes, 39 seconds third thing I saw was the oil scavenge pump bracket on the lower left side of the engine bay, partially obscured by the wiring harness. It was hand 8:488 minutes, 48 seconds fabricated. The geometry was not factory. The welding signature was not factory. The bracket angled 8:558 minutes, 55 seconds approximately 7 degrees forward from where a stock bracket would sit, which was the specific compensation pattern that one fabricator in Mospath had used between 9:049 minutes, 4 seconds 1997 and 2014 to optimize oil scavenge under sustained high G cornering. 9:119 minutes, 11 seconds Heinrich Müller. I bent down to confirm what I was already certain of. There was a small stamp at the lower edge of the bracket, partially covered by a film of 209 minutes, 20 seconds clean oil residue. I took out a microfiber cloth from my pocket and wiped the bracket once. MR04. 9:289 minutes, 28 seconds Manth Racing Internal Mark Heinrich Series number 4. He had only made 7 of these brackets in his entire 9:369 minutes, 36 seconds career outside of Manth's official production line. Each one was a personal project. Each one was for a car he had. 9:4 49 minutes, 44 seconds personally rebuilt. I knew this because I had been there for two of them. I held my position for a moment longer than I. 9:5 19 minutes, 51 seconds should have. I could feel my breathing slow down on its own. My hands were not shaking, but they had become very still. 9:5 99 minutes, 59 seconds in the way they used to become still when I was working on something at Lemon in 2014, and a senior engineer was. 10:05 minutes, 5 seconds watching. Behind me, Vivian said, "Did you find something?" I straightened up. 10:12 10 minutes, 12 seconds. I closed the engine cover most of the way, but did not latch it. I need to ask you a question. When did your father buy? 10:20 10 minutes, 20 seconds this car. She paused. Why? Because I need to know whether the car was already restored when he acquired it or whether. 10:28 10 minutes, 28 seconds. She had it restored later. It was already restored. He bought it in 1991 from a dealer in Frankfurt. He kept it in 3,610 minutes, 36 seconds Germany for some years before importing it. Why does that matter? It matters because someone has been inside this engine bay in the last 18 months and 10:45 10 minutes, 45 seconds replaced a component that should not have been replaced. 10:48 10 minutes, 48 seconds Preston Vance shifted his weight. I noticed it the way you notice changes in pressure when a door opens in another room. Small specific. 10:58 10 minutes, 58 seconds replaced with what? Vivian asked. With a modern aftermarket part that doesn't seat correctly against an original modification that's been on this engine since at least the mid-1990s. 11:0911 minutes, 9 seconds. That mismatch is almost certainly what's causing your misfire and pressure loss. 11:13 11 minutes, 13 seconds. The car runs fine until thermal expansion brings the new part out of alignment with the original bracket, which usually happens around 80 to 100 m. 11:21 11 minutes, 21 seconds off sustained driving. Vivian looked at me, then at Preston, then at the car. 11:28 11 minutes, 28 seconds. How long would it take to fix? To diagnose properly and confirm 2 days to source a period-correct replacement and 11:34 11 minutes, 34 seconds install it. Another day, so 3 days total. If I can get the parts I'd need. 11:40 11 minutes, 40 seconds. She was quiet for a moment. Preston spoke before she could. 3 shops have looked at this car, including the 11:48 11 minutes, 48 seconds dealership. Are you really suggesting that all 3 of them missed something this fundamental? I looked at him for 11:55 11 minutes, 55 seconds the first time directly. He was the kind of man who used the word fundamental the way other men used the word obvious. I'm 12:0212 minutes, 2 seconds suggesting they were diagnosing a modern Porsche. This isn't a modern Porsche. 12:0812 minutes, 8 seconds. This is a 1973 car with specific modifications that don't appear in any factory service manual. If you don't know they're there, you don't know to. 12:16 12 minutes, 16 seconds. Look for them. Vivian made a small sound that was almost a laugh. Fix this thing and I'll marry you, Mr. Whitaker. Her. 12:24 12 minutes, 24 seconds. Assistants laughed. Preston smiled with his teeth. I did not respond. I latched the engine cover gently. I took a clean 12:33 12 minutes, 33 seconds shop rag from my back pocket and wiped my hands. I'll need access to the car for 3 working days. I can do most of 12. 4,012 minutes, 40 seconds. The work here if you have a stable power source in the garage, or I can flatbed it to my shop in Stamford and bring it back when it's finished. Your 12:48 12 minutes, 48 seconds preference. Here is fine, she said. The amusement in her voice had thinned a little. She had registered that I had 12:56 12 minutes, 56 seconds not laughed at her joke. I was not sure she had registered why. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock if that works. 13:0413 minutes, 4 seconds Elalina will give you the gate code. I nodded. I walked back to the truck. I sat in the driver's seat for a moment. 13:12 13 minutes, 12 seconds before starting the engine. My phone was in the cup holder. I picked it up and scrolled to a contact I had not called. 13:19 13 minutes, 19 seconds in almost 2 years. Klaus Reinhardt, 71 years old, retired Porsche engineer. 13:26 13 minutes, 26 seconds lived in a small house in Yoners in Westchester County. About 30 minutes from Greenwich. I had met him at a vintage Porsche event at Limerock Park. 13:35 13 minutes, 35 seconds in 2017, and he had recognized something in my background within 10 minutes of speaking with me. We had stayed in 13:42 13 minutes, 42 seconds occasional contact ever since. I did not call him from the driveway. I started the truck and drove back toward Stamford. I called him from the kitchen. 5,113 minutes, 51 seconds off my apartment 30 minutes later after I had checked the time and confirmed that Hannah's pickup was on schedule and the M5 in the shop could wait until 13:59 13 minutes, 59 seconds tomorrow. Close answered on the fourth ring. His voice was the same as it always was. Slow, deliberate, with the 14:0814 minutes, 8 seconds precise consonants of someone who had learned English as an adult and never let it become casual. Ethan, Klaus, I need you to confirm something for me. 14:20 minutes, 20 seconds tell me. Heinrich Miller built 7 brackets outside of Mant's official production. Personal projects. I worked. 14:27 14 minutes, 27 seconds on 2 of them. Do you know which years and which cars? There was a long pause. Why do you ask? Because I just saw one. 14:37 14 minutes, 37 seconds another pause longer than the first. 14:39 14 minutes, 39 seconds where? In a garage in Greenwich. A 1973 Carrera RS Lightweight Grand Prix White. 4,614 minutes, 46 seconds bracket has the MR04 stamp. The car was bought by an American collector in Frankfurt in 1991. Kept in Germany for 14:55 14 minutes, 55 seconds some years, then imported. Klaus exhaled. That's the car Heinrich brought to the Mant workshop in the summer of 15:0315 minutes, 3 seconds 2010 for a refresh. You worked on it? I worked on it. He had owned it personally for 2 years and sold it to fund his 15:11 15 minutes, 11 seconds in medical school. The buyer was through a broker in Frankfurt. Heinrich never met him. The buyer was an 15:19 15 minutes, 19 seconds American. Yes, Heinrich said. The broker mentioned that Charles Ashworth, I think. I was sitting at my kitchen. 15:26 15 minutes, 26 seconds stable. I had not realized I had sat down. That's the family. The car is now owned by the daughter. She doesn't know. 15:34 15 minutes, 34 seconds any of this. Klaus was quiet for a long moment. Ethan Heinrich kept records of 4,115 minutes, 41 seconds every car he personally rebuilt, handwritten, bound, 7 volumes by the time he died. After his funeral in 2018. 15:50 minutes, 50 seconds. His daughter Annalisa inherited the volumes as his sole heir. She loaned them to the Porsche Museum Archive in Stuttgart on a long-term basis. They are 15:59 minutes, 59 seconds accessible to her at any time. You're saying his original logs from 2010 are with Annalisa available through the 16:0716 minutes, 7 seconds museum? Yes, with your signature on the work order pages. I have seen them. 2. 16:1316 minutes, 13 seconds years ago when I visited. I closed my eyes for a moment. Klaus, I'm going to 16:2016 minutes, 20 seconds ask you for a favor. Tell me, I need a high-resolution scan of every page in the 2010 volume that references this car. 16:2916 minutes, 29 seconds. I'll cover the cost of the museum's reproduction service. I need it within a week. I will call Annalise tomorrow morning. She still has the volumes in 16:3716 minutes, 37 seconds. Her custody for research purposes. She can scan them directly, faster than the museum's general request system. Thank. 16:4416 minutes, 44 seconds. You, Klaus. Ethan, yes, you should know. Hinrich talked about you specifically in the 2010 volume, not 16:5416 minutes, 54 seconds. Just the signature. He wrote a short note about an American apprentice who understood the work without needing it explained twice. He used your first 17:0217 minutes, 2 seconds name. He liked you. I did not say anything for a while. Send me the scans when you have them. I will. I ended the 17:1217 minutes, 12 seconds call. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. I thought about Hinrich. I thought about the summer of 2010 and the 17:2017 minutes, 20 seconds smell of the workshop at the Nürburgring and the way he had taught me to feel a misfire through the floor of the bay instead of just hearing it. I 2,817 minutes, 28 seconds thought about Caroline, who had been 22 years old in 2010, who had visited me in Germany for 2 weeks in August, who had 17:3617 minutes, 36 seconds walked through that workshop and met Heinrich and laughed at something he said about how American men were too quick to assume that volume meant power. 17:4417 minutes, 44 seconds. She had died on October 16, 2020. 17:4817 minutes, 48 seconds. Stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. She had been 32 years old. Hannah had been 3. I had quit Maine racing 2 months. 17:5717 minutes, 57 seconds later. I had moved back to Connecticut and opened the shop in Stamford in March of 2021.